Sarah woke up at 3 in the morning with the feeling that something was wrong. It wasn't a noise, it wasn't a movement. It was the absolute certainty that the couch was no longer in the same place where she had fallen asleep 3 hours earlier. If you like stories that make you question every shadow in your house, like this page now, share with that friend who loves a good scare and stay until the end, because what happens in this house goes beyond any rational explanation. Follow the page for more disturbing stories. Everything started with a deal too good to be true. Sarah and Marcus had just gotten married and needed a cheap place to live while saving for a home of their own. When they saw the online listing, a 3-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood for only $700 a month, they thought it was a scam. "There must be something wrong with it," Marcus said suspiciously as they drove to see the place. "Probably mold or rats or both," Sarah agreed. But when they arrived, they were surprised. The house was beautiful, clean, well-maintained, with furniture included in the rent. The owner, a man in his 60s named Mr. Hendricks, was polite and in a hurry. "I live out of state now," he explained while showing them the rooms quickly. "I just want someone taking care of the place. I don't care about the price, I just want reliable tenants." Sarah and Marcus signed the lease the same day. The first week was perfect. They spent their days unpacking boxes, decorating, making plans. Sarah arranged the living room exactly how she wanted. The couch facing the TV, the coffee table with her favorite magazines, the pillows neatly placed. On the 8th night, everything changed. Sarah woke up in the dark, disoriented. It took a few seconds for her to realize what had woken her. It wasn't a sound. It was the feeling that something was different. She turned on the bedside lamp and froze. The lamp was no longer beside the bed. It was on the other side of the room. "Marcus," she whispered, nudging her husband. "Marcus, wake up." "What?" he mumbled. "The lamp. It wasn't there yesterday." "You probably moved it and forgot." "I didn't change anything." Marcus sighed and turned the light off again. "We'll talk in the morning." But in the morning, there were more things out of place. The kitchen chair that usually sat against the wall was now in the middle of the room. The living room picture frame was crooked, and the couch, the 2-seater Sarah had positioned so carefully, was now facing the wall. "Are you pranking me?" Sarah asked, trying to laugh. Marcus looked around, confused. "I was thinking the same thing about you." They didn't say it aloud, but both felt the first chill down their spine. Over the next nights, the changes became more obvious and more disturbing. On the second night, all the books on the shelf were upside down. On the third, their wedding photos were turned to face the wall. On the fourth, the dining room chairs were stacked into a shaky tower in the middle of the room. "This isn't normal," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "Someone is coming in here." Marcus checked all the doors and windows, all locked. No signs of forced entry. He added extra locks and even put a chair against the front door before bed. The next morning, the chair was still there. The locks were still intact, but the couch was in the kitchen. "We need to set up cameras," Marcus said. They bought 4 cheap security cameras and placed them around the house. One in the living room, one in the hallway, one in the kitchen, and one pointed at the front door. Marcus set everything to record through the night and upload automatically to the cloud. That night, they barely slept. At 6 a.m., they rushed to check the footage, and then they saw something that made them question their sanity. At 2:47 a.m., on all 4 cameras at the same time, the image froze for exactly 15 seconds. When it resumed, the couch had moved 3 feet to the left, the kitchen chairs were stacked again, and in the corner of the living room, almost imperceptible, there was a shadow that shouldn't have been there. A human shadow, standing still, watching the camera. Sarah began to cry. "We need to get out of here, now." But Marcus was obsessed. "No, I want to know who's doing this. I'm staying awake all night." Marcus sat in the living room with a baseball bat and a flashlight, determined to catch the intruder. Sarah locked herself in the bedroom with her phone in hand, ready to call the police. At 2:30 a.m., Marcus heard it. A low, muffled sound coming from inside the walls, like someone scraping the wood from within. He pointed his flashlight at the living room wall, and he saw it. A tiny lens, so small it was almost invisible, embedded in the baseboard. His blood froze. He ran through the house looking for more, and found more. 4, 5, 6 lenses, hidden in corners, in outlets, behind picture frames. Someone was watching them. Marcus woke Sarah, and they called the police immediately. The police arrived in under 20 minutes. They found 14 hidden cameras throughout the entire house, including in the bathroom and the bedroom. Investigators traced the signal and discovered the cameras were streaming live to a local IP address, an address only 3 blocks away. Police raided the house and arrested a man named David Carver, a 42-year-old unemployed IT technician. He had an entire room dedicated to monitors displaying Sarah and Marcus's home. There were folders and folders of recorded videos. Thousands of hours. "I was only watching," he said, emotionless. "I didn't do anything wrong. I just like watching people live." But when asked about the furniture, Carver looked confused. "What furniture? I never went inside. I only watched." Sarah and Marcus should have felt relieved. The voyeur was in custody. The cameras were removed. They changed the locks. Police assured them everything was resolved. But on the first night after the arrest, it happened again. The couch moved. This time, Marcus was fully awake when it happened. He was sitting on it watching TV. And then, without any warning, without a sound, without visible movement, he felt the couch slide 3 feet backward, as if invisible hands were dragging it. Sarah screamed from the bedroom, "Marcus, the bed is moving!" They ran through the house. Everything was moving. The chairs spun in circles. The picture frames twisted on the walls. The kitchen table slid from one side of the room to the other, as if being pushed by something they couldn't see. And then, in the absolute silence that followed, they heard a voice, low, raspy, coming from inside the walls. "Leave!" They ran out of the house that same night, leaving everything behind. The next day they hired movers to retrieve their belongings. The workers reported that while they were packing, they heard laughter coming from the attic, an attic that, according to the house's blueprint, wasn't supposed to exist. Sarah and Marcus never returned. They paid the lease break penalty and tried to move on, but 3 months later they received a letter, no return address. Inside there was only a single photograph, a picture taken from inside the house, showing the empty living room with a lone couch facing the wall, and written above it in what looked like dried blood, the words, "You're still here." Did this story keep you awake? Then like, share, and follow the page for more disturbing tales that will make you question every strange sound in your house. What would you do if your furniture started moving on its own? Comment below.